Welcome, it's Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you would like to help support my channel by subscribing. Also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content, which I'm doing a bit this week. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such, I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of this land. So this is going to be a video about the full moon that's coming up in Libra on the 13th of April, 2025. If you are new to my channel, I'm not an astrologer. I do have a healthy interest in astrology, but I sort of like look at the astrologers that I tend to follow and sort of take out the parts from their reports that resonate with me, but I link their reports below so you can watch their whole forecast. So as I said, we have a full moon in Libra. It'll be taking place here in Adelaide at 9:52 a.m. on, I think it's the Sunday the 13th. And that's Australian Central Standard Time. We've finally gotten rid of daylight savings, yay. And it will also be at 23 degrees, 49 minutes of Libra. And I think regardless of where we are in the world, it's for the majority of us, it's going to be on the 13th, but I could be wrong, so please check out your time zones. At the full moons, we have the sun and moon directly opposite each other. So this means that the sun is at 23 degrees or 49 minutes of Pisces, shining all its light on Lady Lunar, exposing what has been hidden at the shadows and enabling things to arise in our conscious awareness that need to come to an end. Things that maybe have been concluded, and this is after all what the full moon is all about: endings, the culmination of things, the opportunity to let things go and release things that no longer resonate with us. But before we go into the full moon, I just want to sort of tap back into the fact that we have emerged or are emerging from the first eclipse cycle for the year, which has been a little bit intense. And as such, we're sort of in that process of experiencing and sort of sorting through, aligning ourselves with the fallout, so to speak, consequences, which will be taking place over the next 6 months as these changes occur. Added to that, there has been a lot of seismic activity happening. There's been 2 devastating earthquakes in Myanmar. It's one at 6.4 and the other at 7.7. Very devastating earthquakes. There's also been a series of earthquakes occurring around Tonga in the South Pacific. And also, and this is something that Pam Gregory pointed out, she's one of the astrologers that I follow. You can see her video link below. She mentioned that in the mid-Atlantic ridge, which is in the ocean, there's also been earthquakes there, which is very unusual. Added to this, our sun's been very active. There's been a lot of solar activity taking place as well. And before we dive into the full moon, just want to mention about Mars. Mars is still in Cancer, where Mars is not all that happy. And it's been there since September last year due to its retrograde, and now it's stationed direct. It's about to sort of move out into Leo, but that won't be happening till the 18th of April. However, for the time being, it's stuck in Cancer, where it's tending to be rather active or reactive, emotionally triggered, and all of this is adding to the energies of this full moon. And you can be seeing this, so you may be aware of what's happening globally, where things are emotionally being triggered, very reactive again. And of course, we've all gone through the fallout of the eclipse energetics, even if we're not aware of it at all, not. So this sort of primal energy of Mars will be influencing this full moon. It'll be sort of rather fiery, so just keep in mind that you might need to breathe, take a few deep breaths into your diaphragm before reacting to things, especially if you engage on social media. Two other big things that are sort of, again, are taking precedence or have just recently happened and will be affecting this full moon is that Mercury is stationed direct on the 7th of April and Venus stationing direct on the 12th, the day before the full moon, respectively. These planets will be direct, making all planets direct until the 4th of May, and then Pluto will station retrograde. Okay, let's come back to the full moon. As I said, it's at 23 degrees, 49 minutes of Libra. So if you've got your birth chart, natal chart, see where this falls in your chart, whether you have any planets or points there, because these will also come into play. And this will be indicating what part in your life, because each house relates to an aspect or part of our life, that you could be experiencing closure in, completion. Maybe the moon is sort of shining a light on something that, especially in that particular area of your house that you, in your life, that you may not been aware of before. And just keep in mind that Libra is represented by the scale. So it's reminding us to bring back balance, to nurture balance within, or at the very least, to endeavor to bring this balance back into our lives, to ascertain whether we've been too hard or too soft, whether we have been able to ground, come back to center with all the craziness that's happening in our world. Are we tipped off balance due to the eclipse energy or whatever is being stimulated? Has things been shaken up with the eclipse or it been unraveling? So again, try and find that place of stillness and calm within. Because also once we become more balanced, and even if things have shaken up about a bit with relation to the eclipse, this can also enable new possibilities to come into our lives. Now, the planetary ruler of Libra is Venus. And Venus, as I just mentioned, will be stationing direct on the eve of this full moon, and it will be in Pisces. And when Venus is in Pisces, Venus is rather exalted, meaning this is sort of a very happy place for Venus to be. And Venus is almost in a direct sextile, which again is a positive angle to Uranus. Uranus is all about electricity, adding sort of like a sparkling, magical quality to things. Venus is about our heart. It's often associated with love, unconditional love, compassion, but also our values as well. And where we place our things, our relationships, and our role in our relationships in our life. Not necessarily only our intimate relationships, but all relationships that we have, our work relationships, our relationships within the family, the home, even within the wider community. How do we stand up, stand out, take responsibility, share? Where is our place of compassion? Pam Gregory mentioned that both Libra and Pisces are creative signs, especially when it comes to the visual arts, poetry, music. And again, they are also compassionate signs that tend to be more giving towards other people, which is wonderful, especially in a world that seems to be increasingly focused around the I, the me, everybody's on their phone just looking after number one. However, make sure that you are also getting your own needs met as well. This is the balance that's coming in. Make sure that you do not give away your power, your sovereignty. Look at your boundaries. And this is something else that Pam Gregory points out, because as Neptune is sort of just entering Aries, it's at 0 degrees of Aries, and when it begins to move into, say, at least 1 degree of Aries, this is all about a shift, and it will be encouraging us to step more and more into our own inner power. our own sovereignty. So how do you feel about that? Keeping in mind there is this balance that we're not individuals and isolated, that we have to sort of step into our own power, regain our own sort of sense of self-worth, but also do it in a way where we don't have this power over other people, as what we're seeing in this world today. We have a very sort of like unbalanced, I was going to say toxic, but just say unbalanced attitude when it comes to, or opinion when it comes to power. It is a double-edged sword. We need to sort of embrace our power, but not in a controlling way. And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing the abuse of power so readily being exposed, being demonstrated in our world today. So we're seeing how not to step into our power, taking it like that. We also need to be very mindful of other Piscean things that could be coming up into our consciousness, including maybe issues around seas and oceans, such as pollution, illusions, toxicity. Recently, there was mention of the huge iceberg A23A. It was a piece that broke off Antarctic, I think, the Antarctic shelf a number of years ago. It was lodged out in one of the straits. It freed itself a couple of months ago and was heading towards South Georgia Island. I think it has hit the island, but from what I can recall, because there really hasn't been much mentioned about that, it hasn't actually affected either human populations or the breeding grounds of the animals there. However, we're not hearing much about that. So this is sort of like this watery Piscean theme. There's like the illusions. I know here in Australia, in the northern Queensland, they are having an inundated amount of water, Pisces. While here in South Australia, we've got the opposite. We're actually in a drought. We haven't had decent rainfall for a long time. And there are also communities on the verge of running out of water. So all of this is connected in with the Pisces themes, because there is a stellium of planets and points in Pisces with Venus, Saturn, the North Node, and Mercury. There's also a very strong T-square between the Moon and the Sun and Mars, with Mars also causing or creating an outer bounds sign, an outer bounds opposition with Pluto. So it's a square, but it's not quite a square, so to speak. And again, Pam Gregory indicates that this could mean willpower or brute force in the past. This is sort of the negative aspect to it, where its actions have been undertaken with brute force. So she seems to think that this is sort of a lower expression, and the higher expression, just to be mindful, is to surrender to divine will, sort of remove our ego, to just simply breathe and let that sort of heated up Martian energy that's being agitated and then sort of like opposing Platonic energy to just subside. Again, breathing is really great. Chiron, which is the wounded healer, is also going to be activated under this full moon. Chiron is in Aries, and what Chiron does, it helps to enhance the healing energies, especially from where we have been wounded. It sort of enables us to alchemicize the inner message, or the healing portal, so to speak, by recognizing the power when we go through such a deep wound and come out the other side, the journey, the gifts that are gained along the way. Sometimes when we go through such deep transformation or deep wounding, it is in the acceptance, it is in the integration, the emergence of that experience, as opposed to seeing it as something flawed that needs to be fixed. So there's an acceptance in the gifts of Chiron. And I think this is increasingly important as we continue to be moving headlong into AI. Chiron sort of reminds us to come back to the body, that yes, it's okay, that we are flawed, we are human, and this is one of the goals of humanity, is accepting that we are human, that perfection is not part of our general makeup. And this is sort of heightened as Venus is merging from her shadowy retrograde journey, is that what lessons and wisdoms are now being brought into the light, especially in connection with beauty. Have we shifted our perceptions of beauty? What deep realizations have been discovered, especially, as I said, Venus is also connected in our relationships and the roles that we have played in these relationships. So Venus is reminding us to basically, again, keep a tab on our own needs, be a little bit more maybe focused on us, our own levels of self-care, as opposed to completely sacrificing ourselves for the needs of others, but not to put ourselves again over instead of number one to the detriment of others. Again, we're thinking of this Libra balance. It's putting our needs in comparison with the needs of others so we can all work together. And now that all planets are direct, or will be direct at this full moon, we may very well feel the sort of forward momentum beginning to take place. We may feel a greater sense of clarity as this full moon illuminates the path before us. Our direction will be revealed even better. And as we emerge from sort of shedding from the old cycle, which this eclipse energy has enabled us to do, we may also feel a little bit more willing to well and truly enter the new. So that's sort of an overall view of this full moon. Just a reminder, if you are in Adelaide, that on the Saturday, the 12th, there will be a full moon gathering down at Largs Bay. Now we meet in the Northern Car Park. Due to daylight savings finishing, it will be 7 o'clock we'll be meeting, and we'll be heading down to the beach shortly after. So please be there by 7:30. Bring a biodegradable or eco-friendly offering, which could be a flower or a shell or a pebble that can be thrown into the water. And I'll put the links below as well. And also, if you are interested in contemporary witchcraft, a Witches Circle will be commencing on Tuesday, the 29th of April. This is a 5-week intensive course that focuses on establishing a foundation that's constructed of contemporary witchcraft practices, ceremonial or high magic practices, and also hermetics. So once a foundation is established, it's a bit like laying the foundations to a house. You can then build your own unique practice or house in whatever way you wish, secure in the knowledge that you have something to always return to that will stand the test of time. So information about a Witches Circle can be found on the Temple of the Dark Moon's webpage, which can be linked below. And yes, I do hope that you have been able to come through the eclipse season okay. Again, breathe, focus more on your sense of center. Here we are with Libra and the balance. Very important to gain the balance. Here in the Southern Hemisphere, we are heading into winter. So again, this is a good time of sort of like balancing, redefining our energies. In the Northern Hemisphere, you're moving into summer. Again, you're wanting to sort of bring that balance back into your life before you take on too much. So I do hope you find that this update has been of use to you. So the links to the other references are below. Please check them out if you are interested. Leave any comments below. I do go back and look at them. I may even respond. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please consider doing so. Blessings.